Hello, how are you doing? It is Cherie Matheson here from Big Notes Get Votes. I like to sort of give that awkward silence right at the front end because there's usually a little bit of time where the technology processes. And today, what we are here to do is, what I'm here to do is to go live and as a bonus for to wrap up our 7-day Love Your Voice challenge. I'm going to make sure that all the tech is working real quick because, with live, there we go. Uh, with live, things can go a little bit wonky. And so I am going to make sure that I can see and hear everything, which I think I can. And hopefully you can as well. The chat is open so that you can ask me questions as we're going through, because that's what this is all about. Wrapping up the 7-day Love Your Voice challenge. Firstly, thank you for coming along for the ride. It's been so fun to share a daily tip that will hopefully help you to love your voice with specific, tasks. So we're going to recap a little bit of what we've done in the last 7 days. I'm here to answer any questions that you've got. And also the key thing is to figure out what's the next step, like how can you keep on loving your voice? How can you keep continuing your singing journey? And to make sure I stay on track, I have some notes that I'm going to make sure I can see. But like I said, please pop any questions in the chat. I will keep an eye on them and I will come to check and answer them probably about halfway through in a few moments. And then actually, I've already got some questions that I'm going to answer today. So we have covered a lot of ground in the last 7 days. I'm looking at my list of the days here. We covered how to kick things off with a self-assessment, or essentially becoming self-aware of who you are as a singer, what I lovingly refer to as your default settings. So when you know what you do naturally, and this is a great thing because these are the foundations for your signature sound. If you're wanting to become a singer that writes and sings their own music, or is a specific style of singer that can interpret songs for other people, it's really good to know what you've already got going on. We always want to lead with patting ourselves on the back as singers, lead with love, make sure we are, the number one tip from day one was to really own your singer identity. So tell yourself and believe that you're a singer, because once you've kind of leaned into that, all the other things become so much easier. If you're fighting yourself on becoming a singer and, telling yourself you don't love your voice, that is a hurdle that will hold you back from all of the other tips that we've shared in the 7-day Love Your Voice challenge. If you just don't think you can, you're just not going to. You're not going to make time to practice. You're not going to look after your voice. So please, if there's only one thing that you do from this Love Your Voice challenge, trust yourself, tell yourself, I am a singer. I'm a great singer. And I nurture and love my voice every single day. That's my little mantra that I shared with you. So please do that. Understand what's working well before you roll into all the things that you want to improve upon. When I was teaching at a tertiary institution here in Auckland, New Zealand, where I live, I would often ask my students in this assessment phase before we work together. I do it with everyone actually in my online course, the Singers Technique Toolkit. When I was doing one-on-ones, before we get started, I ask you to do a self-assessment, fill out a questionnaire. Everybody would rattle off a whole list of things that they wanted to work on, but they weren't really clear on what they were doing really well already. Not only does that help you to feel good about yourself and love your voice, it informs you of what your next steps should be all the time. And it's something that you do need to check in with just all the time, regularly, daily, weekly, monthly, because there are so many variables that can impact how you feel about your voice, but physically and hormonally what's going on. And that's a pretty good segue into day 2. And this is where we looked at loving our voices through daily vocal care habits. And these are something that over time I have made sure does not take up all day to do, because ain't nobody got time for any of that. What I like to do is maintain my daily vocal care habits within 5 minutes. And I'm super lazy, like by design. So I like to get a hack happening. I love the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And from that, I learned a thing called habit stacking. So the 3 things that I really try to make a priority from a passive perspective, and we talked about, I look at it from 2 ways, active or passive. And the active exercises I do every day are sirens for a chicken for my voice. It's also the best exercise you can ever do. It does all the things. I do singer stretches, and then I do what I call speaking voice mindfulness throughout the day. So that's kind of an active thing because I need to be mindful that I have to be aware of how I'm using my voice. But also it's a passive thing because I'm just going to be talking all day long, but I just have to remember not too much loud laughter or talking. Be really mindful of also the extremes with whispering, speaking quietly. And over time, I've actually ended up working more on my speaking voice as a tool, like for focusing on my own coaching with my vocal coach. As well as singing, because I mean, it's the same instrument. You benefit from being mindful of your speaking voice and doing what I call my singing practice hacks, where I overlay my singing techniques into my speaking to preserve my voice. That's the speaking voice mindfulness. But also over time, I've actually used it to develop my voice. So extend my range, access different voice qualities and tonal choices that I can make by practicing them whilst I'm speaking. I've also recently become a voiceover artist, which is something I never would have done in a million years. And it's so exciting to be able to use my singing technique toolkit with my speaking voice professionally. So, of course, I still use my Singer's Technique Toolkit for singing, but my focus has just shifted in recent times to the voice. So that's where speaking voice mindfulness is amazing for me. Then these sort of passive things that you really want to be mindful of, and we cover this in day 2 as well as part of the daily vocal care habits, is your sleep, your hydration, and your nutrition. Now, when I say nutrition, I'm talking about understanding what makes your body feel good and what makes your body do things that are not helpful for your voice. I recently went for a checkup, what I call a vocal warrant of fitness for my voice. I went to see a laryngologist, and there's one here in Auckland that I absolutely love, who has a great knowledge specifically in high voice users and singers. So all the pros go to her, and she looked at my vocal folds and they are in good shape. Thank you very much, thankfully. And asked me though, do I suffer from reflux? And I was like, no, there's no way. Because I, in my mind, and this is even as a singer, pro singer for like 30 plus years and a vocal coach for coming up on 10 years, I was like, nah, that's good. I know what the signs of reflux are, even silent reflux. I kind of had done some work around that, work with clients who had suffered from this, thought definitely not. But I did say to her, I do have so much kind of phlegminess, post-nasal drip thing coming on. It turns out it's reflux. So it's silent reflux, and a very rare kind, because I'm extra and special, called, I have to remember now, nasopharyngeal reflux, I think it is, which is where the acids, gastric acids from your stomach, how exciting, I know we're going there, move up your back up, and they go really close to your vocal folds, if not on your vocal folds. And then mine just like to keep going because my reflux is an overachiever and wants to continue up. So I'm actually getting it impacting all the way through my sinus area. So what she did for me is she gave me some interesting things that I won't go into super detail, but I do want to do a video on this because it's amazing. Leading into this run of touring that I have just I'm wrapping up on Saturday, the summer touring, moving to our international touring in about a month's time. We were trying some things to manage the reflux, to manage digestion, so that you're kind of stopping the reflux from even happening. So that's what I mean by nutrition. It's about working out, at a very base level, like what triggers you. Dairy, caffeine, which by the way is not for everybody, both of those. And caffeine is not a bad guy. It does have some negative impacts, but it's got to be assessed like on a case by case basis. Like if caffeine makes you feel super jumpy, I want you to avoid it because I want you to feel good. Uh, but the newer studies are showing that it's not as dehydrating as we once thought it was. And if you're managing your hydration through nutrition, like eating lots of foods that have high water content, and you're getting whatever amount of water is right for you, you're good. Steaming, topical hydration, these are all other little things that you can add on. But these kind of personalized daily vocal care habits, like adding steaming or a sinus rinse, are things that you add on once you've looked at your own daily vocal care habits and assessed your sleep, your hydration plan, and your nutrition. Sleep is massive. That is something I've always tracked, and I use my Fitbit for that. It's something that I thought I was doing really well until I went for another checkup recently where they were like, oh, you're sleeping 7 hours, so you're not getting enough sleep. And I was like, oh, I thought I was getting enough sleep. So I think maybe my goal is going to be bumping it a little more to 7 to 8 hours. So my point being, there are lots of things that you just need to constantly keep checking in when it comes to loving your voice through your daily vocal care habits. And this is something that will adapt through each season of your life, which is why I was saying check in with yourself daily, weekly, monthly. I find the times of the year, depending on my schedule for singing work, but also I'm a mum, so school around the school year is crazy. End of year, December, madness. And that's the time where I really need to focus even further on my daily vocal care habits. There you go, rant done. But it is important because the 7 Day Love Your Voice Challenge is kind of designed in a hierarchy of what's most important. And so I do feel like mental health, feeling good about yourself, and then the physical overall health really helps to overlay any of the following days' tips or any singing techniques onto it. It just isn't going to work if you haven't got great vocal health. You definitely want to be getting a checkup if anything persists for like longer than 2 days. That's a really good time frame. I think, like working out at the gym, when you do a really big workout and your muscles are like screaming at you, you're finding it hard to sit down, walk, or whatever, usually that lactic acid buildup gently moves itself away within 48 to 72 hours. So the muscle comes right. Any fibers that have been, and I say broken, that's very low level, but that's essentially what happens by working the muscle, slowly repair themselves. Same with your vocal folds, and your larynx and vocal folds are muscles, ligaments. It's a structure just like any other muscle and ligament structure on your body. So it's the same thing. So if after 2 to 3 days, your voice quality hasn't returned to normal, like it's not just fatigue, you want to go and get it checked out. So the first protocol is your doctor. They'll give you a referral to a specialist. A laryngologist who specializes in high voice users would be ideal. And then you can kind of have a baseline. And like my amazing laryngologist, you build a team of people that kind of help you through the different seasons of your life. Oh, I love her. She's amazing. So once you've got a handle on your voice being in good shape, your mental approach towards yourself and your voice being in great shape, you're loving on both of those, then you can start to think about the songs that you're going to sing. If you're a pro, you might have songs presented to you on a regular basis through things like gigs, sessions, anything like that. That's sort of how my life works. I will have sessions where I do songs, or I perform with a band as a backing vocalist. And so I have specific songs that I have to learn. However, if you're not working in those environments, or if you are and you want to be spotlighting a particular technical focus, you need to choose songs that are going to help you access that. And selecting songs to sing can be really tricky. It's one of the things that when I'm working with beginners, that's the first thing they ask me. They're like, where do I begin? I don't even know what song to sing. So that led me to design a program called the Song Study Selector. And these are guides that help you to pick the best songs for whatever technical focus you're wanting to work on. That is something that you get when you join the Singers Technique Toolkit as a bonus. I'm thinking about opening it up as a standalone program in the future, but that tool has lyrics, links to either YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music with playlists already pre-prepared for you, backing tracks, reference tracks, and I've outlined what the technical focus that you'll be able to spotlight is in that. So if you're not doing it for a technical focus, do it for fun. And that was the task for this week. The challenge was to love on your voice by selecting songs that you love to sing, because then you are reinforcing all the great things about your voice already. You're making yourself feel good when you're singing songs. I got a couple go-to that I love. I find things like anything kind of jazzy, any Amy Winehouse, anything with a little bit of soul, like Adele. Those are sort of my modern versions, all the way through to, like Whitney Houston, I love singing, Aretha Franklin. Oh, all of that stuff I absolutely love. Makes me feel good. I feel really confident while I'm singing them. And it's just, it's a process of loving your voice. And you need to remember to keep singing songs that make you feel good and that you're good at, versus ones that, what I say, make you want to throw up a little bit. Like my forever challenge song is And I Am Telling You by Jennifer Hudson. So that one I'm like, I'm not changing the key. I'm going to sing it in the original key, and I'm going to work out why I can't get a particular note or a particular voice quality. That's just my forever. There you go. Inside. So I want you to select songs that you love to sing, for starters, and then you can work out from there what your challenge songs are. And then that means that you're able to really effectively practice when you get to practice planning, which was day 5. However, before you get into that practice process, we want to have a look at day 4, which was loving on your voice through your vocal prep process. And the secret weapons are vocal warm-ups, vocal warm-downs, and taking vocal rest regularly. This is something that even pros do not do all the time. I want you to start, as you mean to go on, and work yourself out a lovely vocal prep process. Now, I gave you some great ideas in day 4 of the Love Your Voice Challenge, but I'm going to go a little further and give you an extra tip today. So the 3 that I really try to do all the time are a siren, which I utilize an Estel siren because I love Estel voice training as a pedagogy, and I study it religiously and frenetically and frantically, and all the words that mean you're passionate about it, because it's just the best singing program I have ever discovered. It's very voice science centric. Please go and have a look at it. It's 100% the best thing I've ever seen. I literally try to do every single singing course, and this one has landed with me as a pro singer, as a high voice user professionally now as well. It's great, obviously, for singing, but also any kind of voice use, like acting, character voices, which I've been working with clients. I myself am not a voice actor, but I have more actor clients this last year and a half. I've been almost working predominantly with actors and their voices. Super exciting. That's aside. But what you need to do with this Estel siren is it's a very light siren. It's not what I call like a musical theater siren where you're like, no, really loudly. You're actually doing a very small, thin sound. It kind of sounds like a hum, But rather than having the vibration or the sensation of the siren forward on your lips, it's a little nasalized. So I want you to think in G. I want you to do a little dog whimper to remind yourself of how thin the sound is that you're going for. You don't want it to get too loud because it's a warm up, it's a stretch for your voice. And you can position your tongue to assist with all of these things. If you say E in the position where the sides of the tongue move up to the top molars. Once you have this, make sure it's a relaxed feeling. Keep it really small. You go from the bottom to the top and back down again. I close my eyes because I'm removing all of my other senses, because what you want to do is feel more how your voice makes sound than hear. Sound or sonic feedback should be your secondary feedback tool. I really want you to think about how it's feeling, because you can assess for things like tension. What is actually working? Is it your eyebrows? That's something that happens a lot with singers. We sing with our eyebrows so hard, or I'm a hand singer as well. Hands and eyebrows aren't going to create too much tension on my vocal folds, but it's more an exercise in just realizing what is actually working when I'm singing, what muscles are working. That awareness gives you really, it's an amazing power or empowerment tool. So when you do a quiet siren, you're just thinking about those things. Like, how's it feeling? Can I feel my larynx moving up? Is it a small, continuous, and consistent movement? Great. Do I get louder when I get higher? How can I change that? And what happens if I do try to go quieter? Do I lose sound? So it's a great singing exercise, but from a vocal wake up or a check-in perspective, such a great stretch. You can see if there are any what I call like clunky areas in those coordination change points, or what some people call your vocal breaks. And it really helps you to check in with your voice, stretch your voice. You do extend your vocal range. You do get more vocal agility because you're learning how to coordinate between those coordination change points. It's honestly, I could talk about it all day long, but I'm not going to. What I am going to tell you is that that's the first thing I do. What I do is 3 of those, like I just did, sirens by themselves. Then I will siren through pretty much, well, I'll siren, or what I'm about to share with you now, called a myron, through the entire set that I'm about to perform. Our sets at the moment are 75 minutes long, give or take. So I will do this vocal warm-up process as I'm getting ready to, hair, makeup, all of that jazz, as I'm getting ready to perform. It is such a low impact vocal warm-up, and it's something that I know works for me for the time frame that I'm going to sing, 75 minutes. And I'm a backing vocalist, so I'm not singing all the time, so I don't need to, I can do a gentle warm-up at the front end, and then my voice will progressively warm up as I'm performing. However, if you're a lead vocalist and you only have a short performance, you might want to do a slightly longer warm-up at the front end that has a little more intensity to it, and I'll explain that in a second, so that you're ready to hit the stage and you can be there on stage, give everything you've got, use your technique, of course, you don't want to blow your voice out, but really turn up ready to perform. So for my use case example, the siren becomes what's called a myron. This is also an Estel voice training tool, where you take that siren, that really light sound that's nasalized, and you mouth the word. So myron is M for myron plus siren. Add it together, makes a myron. You mouth the words as you're singing. So if I was sirening through a song like Happy Birthday, it would be like this. So it kind of sounds like humming, which is why I was explaining that before, but less here on the lips. Sensation is more nasalized. You can totally hum through the song if you want. Just be mindful again to not give it too much juice with your breath pressure or any kind of projection tools, so that you're not overdoing it. That's the first step of your warm-up. Myroning then becomes, I'm going to mouth the words, really relaxed in the jaw and in the lips. So your actual tongue should be in that position that I recommended for the siren, where it's up high, like on the top molars, the sides are there, but it's just the tip of the tongue, the middle of the tongue that's kind of moving to warm up, just to prevent you from overdoing it and singing your guts out before you get on stage. So that, like the siren and Myron combo, that's what I do. And then just before I get on stage, I'll have a full sing through of maybe the first song or second song that we're going to do. Usually I do it with the lead singer. And then I know my voice is ready to go. Like I said, that is about a 75-minute siren Myron's full sing through process for me. Tailor it to what you need. The rule of thumb is the longer you have to perform, probably want to do a shorter warm up so that the first couple of songs, and if you're in control of your set list creation, you want to maybe use songs that are going to ease your voice into performing. If you can't, work out over time what it is that really, what length of time gets you warmed up. Now, the disclaimer around that is that it's not going to be the same thing every time you perform, because how you're feeling, like how your daily vocal care habits have been going, how much sleep you've been getting, how much voice use has happened already in the day. So the artists that I work with will need to often gives a lot of like media interviews on the day of a show. So we'll be really mindful to not over warm up. And I'm his vocal coach as well. So I'll help him to not over warm up, or remind him, I should say, to not over warm up leading into the gig. And he'll focus on a lot of stretching and getting his body and his mind relaxed and focused, which is why he's so good, because he really understands how his body works, and especially that mind and body connectivity back to day one. How you feel about yourself matters. Loving on your voice matters, because that really just sets the tone for all the other things that you add into your singer's technique toolkit, and definitely into loving your voice, that whole process. So we've talked about the warm-up process, adapting it, longer, shorter, depending on your set length, but really being mindful of what's going on in the day and how you're feeling, and adjusting accordingly. And that is just something that you'll need to customize or personalize, either with your vocal coach or by journaling and thinking about how your voice feels. What helps with recovery after a performance is doing a warm down. Just like at the gym, your muscles are going to be less likely to have that lactic acid 3-day release be as impactful if you're stretching, elongating, and warming your voice down back to a speaking level. And quite often, definitely in my performances, I am up here in this kind of tonality, if not belting most of the time. And so I need to bring my voice down to the sort of mid speaking level position. And I simply do that by reversing my sirens. So I start from the top and I go to the bottom, and I let my larynx just go back down, because the larynx moves up when I'm singing in this kind of registration, and I need to get it back to here. So I'll do and I'll let that sob happen, and that kind of more full-voiced sound that comes out at the bottom, so it's not as thin as that beginning wake-up siren. Just let it all hang out. You can even put your hands on your fingers, like your first 3 fingers, on your larynx, and you can feel your larynx move down when you do that. You should feel your larynx maybe from the top or the mid finger position, depending on where your larynx default setting is, like where it likes to hang out, move right down. That just allows those ligaments and those tendons that control your larynx to get a bit of a stretch out. And you can even do like some laryngeal massage where you very gently take your larynx and just move it down. Relax your jaw, relax your tongue. And you do that, for, let's say, if you wanted a structure, I would say I do have a loose structure that's around about it's 10 minutes, like for every, 1 minute for every 10 minutes that you've been performing. That is not scientific. That is just what I use. So if I've been performing for 75 minutes, I'm going to do a 7.5 minute warm down. Like I said, not scientific. That's just what I use and what works for me. You'll need to track and journal and figure out what works for you. But it'll be a combination of those reverse sirens. I might do some lip trills or humming, which you can also do as part of your warm up. But if you prefer, instead of a Myron, to lip trill or hum, that's great. You'll get a similar kind of warming up around the forward sort of placement areas like your lips and your nasal area. And your larynx will still be moving into the right position. So my preference is a Myron, and that's your extra tip for today. But yeah, you can totally do humming and lip trills, both for that warm up and that warm down process, just to bring your voice back to your speaking level. What do you think? Have you tried? Will you try a Myron? I would love to know if you have. Drop it in the comments. That would be great to know. Or any other thoughts around warming up or questions around warming up your voice, because this is the one that I got the most questions about. And I got this question from an amazing singer called Timmy, an artist called Timmy Porter here in New Zealand, who I'm very lucky to have worked with just once in a workshop, met him, and he is fantastic. And so he popped a question down about how to warm up your voice, specifically getting yourself ready for getting into the studio. And so I popped in the comments to reply to him. Day 4 is where you're going to find the info, but also a link to my Studio Singing 101 blog post, which I'll also pop below, which gives you some tips on how to get ready for studio singing. And if I expand a little bit more on that, just to answer his question, because that was the main couple of questions that came through, was to really be mindful of preparation time. So with the warm-up, we're talking about like maybe the 3 hours prior to singing, depending on how long it takes you to warm up. But let's just generalize 3 hours. That's where you want to be warming up your voice, depending on what you have ahead of you. But the 72 hours prior to singing is where you can really iron out any creases. It's where you want to pay extra attention to your sleep, hydration, nutrition. You definitely want to be doing your sirens, your speaking voice mindfulness, and stretching your body. With the studio, what can sometimes happen, you're literally locked in a room for 12 hours in some cases, and the energy, trying to bring a live performance energy to a studio setting can be really challenging. So stretching, getting out of the studio, going for a walk, what I like to refer to as waking up your breathing muscles. So walking is perfect because it's so functional, like what do we call it? Functional fitness. That's what I like to call it. It's just what your body does throughout the day. No pressure. You're not putting any massive weightlifting challenges on your body. It's much more functional and specific to warming up and waking up your vocal breathing muscles. So that's a massive tip. Then the thing that probably extends a little further back from that for getting ready for the studio is to be prepared. So thinking about making sure you've got all your songs written if you're going in the studio with your own music, that you're not trying to figure out any parts in advance. I have just literally wrapped up on working on a kids TV program. It's the second season I've been involved with, called Toy Time. I'll drop a link because I would love you to watch this program. It's so super fun, where this year I'm the musical director or supervisor. So I go through a process of finding the songs are written by an amazing creative team in Christchurch, and they send the songs. I give them the themes and the briefs, which have been given to me by the production company. Then we go through the process of refining the songs. And what I do in advance to help the singers before we get in the studio is I record all of the harmony parts for them. I work out what the key is, the best key for their song. And I've worked with these singers before on a few different projects as well as this one. So even though I have that, I ask them to resend me their vocal ranges so that I can make sure I'm putting the key in the right the song in the right key for all of their voices, and figuring out who sings what, low harmony, high harmony, to balance the textures so that when we hit the studio, we're not wasting any time. We literally needed a little more time this year than we had thought. So even with the best laid plans, you sometimes just need to be as prepared as possible to minimize extending the time in the studio, because of course it costs money. But side note, love that job, love the prep process, because that preparation just makes makes everything quicker. So preparing the songs in advance, knowing what it is that you want to do, because the variables that are around with live performance and studio can come up on a day-to-day basis. So if you've got all the basics locked in, it's going to take a bit of pressure off your mind. You know the songs, you know your songs, you've practiced them, you know what harmony parts you want to do, you know any challenges, and you've worked with your vocal coach to iron out those creases. That's what you want to have done going into the studio, so that if anything comes up, like I didn't get enough sleep because I was doing media, or I just didn't have a great night's sleep because I was sleeping in a hotel room versus my own bed, whatever it is, you want to be able to just, in the moment, allow for freedom of expression and creativity to flow, because you've done all the prep work in advance. So that's my extra tip around the studio singing. But I will drop the link to that in the comments of this, because it's a long post and there's lots and lots of tips. So hopefully, Timmy, I answered all your questions there. The last part of it is taking vocal rest. So you're warming down your voice to help it come back to a speaking level, and give it a little break with some vocal rest. If you've been speaking for a while, like say after this live, we're looking at about 40 minutes of talking currently. We'll probably get up to about an hour, which is my usual coaching session framework. I will take 15 to 20 minutes of what's called modified vocal rest. I just won't speak. I'll do my warm down process, and I've done my warm up. What I was saying earlier about loving James Clear and Atomic Habits, I didn't quite finish that thought, was that I like to habit stack it with sirens I do in the shower, singer stretches I literally do in bed because I'm lazy, like I said, and then speaking voice mindfulness throughout the day. I just have to remind myself. I don't have a hack for that one, actually. It's something that the only cue that I ever get from, if I am not doing it, is when my husband goes, "Whoa, are you all right? What's wrong with your voice?" And it's because my technique practice is to keep my voice quite light. And when I'm tired, I just let it go down here, and it just kind of hangs out like this. So he's my trigger. He's my singing hack, my reminder. But these kind of things, in particular, the vocal rest, you do need to kind of get into a habit and use habit stacking if you can, to remember anytime you use your voice, take a moment to warm down and then to take some vocal rest. You can also do things like some straw work, which there are so many great examples of on YouTube. And I think I might do a video as well. I tend to use things try to use things that I don't have to grab where possible, unless it's something that I know is like super beneficial. So for example, with steaming, I have a great fancy steamer, and I'll pop a link to that in the description box where I'm showing you how I use it. I've also got a brand new nebulizer from a local company that I'm going to do a review video on very soon. But what the best thing to do is sometimes just like have a hot drink and pop your hand over and breathe in the steam instead of, say, grabbing my steamer. There's always that option. The second thing is with straw work for, say, taking vocal rest. You can do what the intention of straw work is, which is called SOVT. It's a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. It's where you're creating a smaller space with the straw, and there's definitely many more benefits by using straw and water, but just for the sake of like not having it right handy, even though I always do have a straw and some water handy to me. because I find it easier to drink water that way. What you can do is you can use your fist, and you can do what I call a fist buzz. So you make like a little gently closed fist, lips go up against it, and you just gently blow. So I did Happy Birthday then, like I did with my siren before. And you want it to be the point of an SOVT, or a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise, is that you're getting some breath pressure coming back at you, so that you've got breath pressure coming up from your lungs, underneath your vocal folds, and then coming from the top. And that creates like this, takes the pressure, takes the work off your vocal folds, and gives it a wee bit of a massage and a bit of a break. Just like a siren is an amazing tool as well. You can use any SOVT exercise like straw work, like your fist buzz, to help with that vocal rest or that warm down process. So those are my extra tips along that. And Timmy, I hope you found that helpful. Let's move on. Day 5 was loving on your practice plan. So before you practice all your singing, all your performances, anytime you're singing, you got to do that vocal warm up at the front end. Ideally, siren first to do a check-in, then do your vocal warm up, however you choose to do it, for the length of time that you choose to do it. Then you get into a structured, focused practice plan. Focused practice is really what makes the difference. That's what shifts the dial. So when you go in knowing what you're going to do, 2 parts to it can either be a technical focus, and that might be where you run scales like vocalization exercises that work on interval, pitch, tone. And side note, with the warming up, you can absolutely warm up with vocalizations or singing scales. I just prefer to make it as specific to what I'm about to sing. It's kind of like a runner running the course of the race that they're about to do, to really familiarize their body with that, with the landscape that they're about to navigate. That's why I prefer singing the songs that you're about to sing, utilizing sirens, myrens, or lip trills if you prefer, as a vocal warm-up. But absolutely, if you're in the flow of doing or singing songs as a warm-up, please go ahead. Now, in your practice, if you choose to do the technical focus with vocalizations, that's a great point. Or you might be spotlighting a specific area of a song, what I call a song study. I use a set list of things that I go through in my song study checklist that starts with breath management, like working out where to breathe, understanding the lyrics, and really connecting with the song so that I know which voice qualities are going to tell the story, whether it's me interpreting it in my own way, or if I want to be as true to the original as possible if I'm doing a cover. And then that gives me, lots of information as to how to technically troubleshoot if I need to. I use my technique toolkit for that. And then you can look at things like, rhythm. Are you going to interpret it exactly the same way? Are you going to add any ornamentations like falling off at the end of the line, particular onsets to start a line, like a breathy one, so that you can kind of tell the story. And then you just practice it through videoing, ideally, watching back, giving yourself that beautiful feedback of what you loved about your performance. Because remember, it's all about loving your voice. And then the 3 things that you'd like to work on. And that then informs your next practice session, which is an awesome way to keep it focused. Next up, you're going to do your warm down, of course, and take a bit of vocal rest after your practice. But also remember, if you prefer, you can sing songs that you love at the front end of, or that could be your entire practice, just to remind yourself of what it is that you're really doing well. That will help to keep you building that relationship with your voice and loving on your voice. Okay, we're almost there with our recap. Day 6 is about loving your performances. So to be able to love them, you've got to create them. And depending on where you are in your singing journey, it can be tricky. So I would highly encourage you to look in your area for choirs, go for open mic nights if you aren't already performing regularly, and really hone that craft and hone your performance chops. You want the best way to get better at performing is performing. If you're not in a position to do any of those things, try videoing yourself and popping it up on either YouTube. You can use a private link, or stop the comments so that people, if you're worried about what people have to say, you can minimize the comments by just turning them off, or take that private link and share it with someone, or unlisted link, share it with someone that you trust. You can tag me in it if you want my feedback, and maybe just share it with your friends and your family, just as a feedback tool. One of the things about performing live that is really great is you have a feedback loop. You sing, the audience responds or doesn't respond in the areas that you were thinking they would. And that gives you some information to go back to the practice room with, and you think, maybe it was my voice quality. Maybe I need to change. And one of the things about selecting songs that we covered is how to emote and tell the stories in the way that you want, using the voice qualities that you choose. And that is something that, honestly, that is what great singers are doing. That's why they're great. They may not be consciously sitting down like I do as a vocal coach and be like, oh, that sounded like a little bit of a speech quality or a cry quality, but essentially, they're primal sounds that we hear every day. That's what voice qualities are. And they have an emotional weighting to them. When we know how to use them and integrate them into our singing, it means we can guarantee that connection of the story with the listener and also ourselves. We know how we speak or share and connect with others, and we can hone and craft that process, same as speaking, into singing. It's a wonderful tool, and one that I go into quite deeply in my Singer's Technique Toolkit, because it's just such a secret weapon. So I love doing that. I love video performance reviews. We do that as part of the course as well. Usually someone will submit a video. I will do a video where I watch it. There's a little box of me in the corner, screen and screen. I give them feedback, and then I play that video in our weekly, or depending on where we are, if we're doing a live round, which we are right now, starts on Monday. We have weekly coaching sessions, or when we're outside of our live rounds, it's sort of fortnightly to monthly, depending on everyone's schedule. And I just give feedback, and it's so great because when you're watching back and giving yourself feedback, you're already thinking about your default settings, hopefully, and maybe spotlighting too much the things that you want to work on, when often I will watch through a video and be like, that was amazing. Let's try, or were you intending to do this, this, and this? And I will get the feedback from the singer first. So I'll say to them, give me the 3 things you love, the 3 things you want to work on. And I will spotlight things maybe that they didn't even think was an issue, but always with the focus on, is it healthy for you to do? Vocal health first. And is it the easiest way that you can do it? Like the ease and efficiency of singing. The creative options are completely up to you as a singer, or I feel should be up to you. And as a vocal coach, I just want to show you how to look after your voice so you've got vocal stamina and longevity, and then how to make it easy for you, how to make the options, the creative options, easier by showing you these technique tools. So that's why creating performance opportunities specifically with vocal video performance reviews, game changers. And how I landed on this is that when I was studying, I studied through Berklee and I did it online, which is amazing. Highly recommend that as a learning tool as well. And because it's online, we needed to submit our performances digitally. So we either audio or video recorded. Video recording, oh my goodness, Kylie, hello. Oh, Kylie is one of my amazing students, and I am so excited to see you, Kylie. I cannot wait to actually see you when I go on tour in Australia. Hopefully we can catch up this time. We don't have any COVID challenges between the two of us. But thank you so much, Kylie. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy that it's a wonderful Kickstarter to get back into singing again. And thank you for your kind words. I love coaching you, and I cannot wait to continue in the future. But yeah, so Kylie knows the power of the video performance review. Poor Kylie, because she's literally, I reckon how many videos, Kylie? Probably like 50. I've done video reviews for Kylie, but it's so helpful because we really move forward from a performance perspective, but also from a learning about our voices and connecting with the right techniques that we can use. And, down the track, really, I would like to be unneeded as a vocal coach, because that means that as a singer, you yourself have built your own singer's technique toolkit. Of course, in the beginning, when you are starting out and building that toolkit, I like to hold your hand. And that's what I do in the Singer's Technique Toolkit course. And we really try to work together for as long as we can, for as long as you need me. But down the track, what makes me so happy is when singers are just like, oh, should I use this or this? I think I'm going to use this. And I'm watching them take the techniques from their toolkit because they, know what the options are, and they're not afraid to try. Because when you know what's available to you, when you have creative options, nothing is a problem. I found this for myself as a singer, and it absolutely gives you that confidence, and it makes you love your voice because you trust that there's always a solution. Nothing's a problem. I can always figure it out. When I listen to recordings of, from 20 years ago before I started studying voice, I personally can't hear a difference. But I tell you what I do know is that I feel different on the inside as I'm performing today, because I'm just more confident with the tools that I have in my toolkit. I cannot say that enough. But it is about learning to love your voice through having these tools and these access to resources. And thanks again, Kylie, for giving me some mad props there. I really, really appreciate you. And then the last day, how we're going to wrap things up is, again, super important, springboards off your video performance review, because it's about reflecting. It's about taking time to reflect, really looking back on what you've done, patting yourself on the back, and then looking forward to think about how you can continue, or as Kylie says, kickstart your journey, your singing journey, because it's cyclical. In my framework, what we do is first we do a check-in. We want to be sure to assess ourselves, like with day one. We look at vocal care habits, which I call prepare. Then we move on to practice. We refine our practice plan. Then we look at polish, which could be anything from a deep dive into a song all the way through to a rehearsal in advance of jumping into your performances, and the tools and techniques that support that, how to make that system or that process super easy. Then the perform, and then you come back, review, and you refocus, and you just go back to the beginning. And it's a cyclical framework which works so well, and it is what the Singer's Technique Toolkit and my in-person vocal coaching program was built upon. So it's so cool that I can do that online now for a group of people at a time. Makes it really helpful, and you still get that one-on-one feedback with the group coaching and the video performance reviews as well. I love it. So tell me, let me know in the comments, what day was your favorite day? Because I really want to know. I can see that lots of people have watched the vocal health, the day 2 daily vocal care habits. So I might do a little bit more on that. I do have a ton of videos about vocal health because it is so important. I also have a vocal health tips for singers guide that you can grab. I'll pop the link below. But anything else that you really want to focus on, or what you loved focusing on and what you're going to continue using in the future. All right, what else have I got here? I think I have let you know everything that I need to. Look, before we wrap up, thanks again for being with me here today for this bonus live Q&A. I'm really keen to do more and more of these as we move forward in 2023. I also just want to remind you that whether you're a seasoned singer or whether you're starting out, you want to continue to grow loving your voice, grow to love your voice, keep working on it, and keep improving, keep doing things. That's actually the secret weapon for the next step. And I'm not just telling you that, I'm practicing what I preach. Next Tuesday, I start off like 10 months of 3 weekly vocal coaching check-ins with an amazing vocal coach here in New Zealand that is ahead of me in my study and has walked the path that I want to walk. And that, I think, is a great thing about moving forward, like getting support with a vocal coach, or if you want me to help you out with the Singer's Technique Toolkit, I'll pop the link below that you can check out everything. Doors are open from today until next Wednesday, just 7 days. And then the next live round will be in about 4 months' time. So having coaching, yeah, it's really important to have that. That is a secret to the next step, even though eventually you may not need me anymore, and I'm okay about that. As long as you've built your own Singer's Technique Toolkit, and if you want me to help you, I'd love to. That's the most important thing. But yeah, let me know by commenting what your favorite day was, and if you do the 7-day challenge again, because that's another way that you can keep moving forward. Like every Monday, if you need that kickstart, like Kylie was saying, it's been a wonderful Kickstarter. Go back and do it every Monday. Go back and do it at the start of every month or in the middle of the month, every quarter. You don't need to start off a thing like a Monday or the first of the month. But I find it super motivational. You could literally start in the next hour. So I'm going to leave that 7-day Love Your Voice challenge up for you. If you've got any questions, let me know in any of the comments of any of the days. Like I said, let me know what your favorite day was. And if there's a topic that I maybe didn't go into deep enough or that you'd like me to make a video about, I would love to know, because I love making specific videos for you. And last but not least, remember, come and see me in this Singer's Technique Toolkit if you want a little bit of extra help. I'll leave that link below. Thanks again for participating in the challenge. Thank you for showing up every day. Thank you for committing to loving your voice moving forward. It's going to make a difference for you. I'm very proud of you for doing it as well. And thanks for letting me share these tips, because I absolutely, I love doing it. Make sure if you've loved it that you are subscribed to the Big Notes Get Votes YouTube channel. Hit the notifications button, because that means you're the first to know when I do pop up new videos, which I will be doing more of. And again, just thanks. Thanks for being awesome. Have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye for now.